Welcome back to the Real Grind Tour. We actually on tour, bro.
I feel like we're like a rock band.
Right?
You know what's
We got
funny?
the bus and we got everything setting up shit, waking up early.
Right.
But
And you know what's funny? I was unloading the truck earlier, and this guy came at me. He's like, "Hey, are you guys like a band or something?" I was like, "No, not
yeah,
really."
live music tonight here at the park. Come in at 9 p.m.
I heard our guest today may be able to play some stuff. I
Hey,
don't know.
man.
You never
So
know,
I
man.
hear. So I hear.
Scored up a free gig in there. Just
All
saying we're
right.
Austin. Live music.
But this is super great. If you are watching us for this tour, man, go ahead and get a like and a little share and share the love. And let's get this show started.
Waking up to success. Now we getting it started. This is the real grind. Everything you've been wanting, building an empire, no question. Talking about real estate, investing, making the millions, no stopping. While we sip on gourmet coffee. The real grind. This is the real grind. Let's go.
All right, and today's next guest, all the way from Brazil, he pursued his American dream and found Boteco, the food truck, nominated one of the best food trucks in America, featured in multiple TV shows. And welcome to the stage, Fernando Marri. What's up, my man?
What's up?
Let's go.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Dude, thank you so much for coming. What amazing story, dude. So we actually right here, we're gonna show a footage of we are right in front of the Boteco.
Boteco. Whatever
Boteco.
way
We
you
have
wanna
to,
say
man.
it, yeah.
And by you being from Brazil, you actually the second Brazilian on the show.
Oh, nice.
And dude, I love to feature Brazilian success stories, man. And yours is
Absolutely.
no different. And we came here yesterday to this awesome this year. What do you call it? This location here,
Barton Springs.
Barton
Yeah.
Springs.
This road is called Barton Springs Road.
But is this like a truck yard, food truck yard?
Yeah,
What do you call
it's
this?
the picnic. It's a food truck park.
Dude, amazing foods, amazing experience. But no farther ado, man. We like to know a little bit about your beginnings, where you're from, and share a little bit with us.
Yeah.
Who are you, man?
My name is Fernando Marri. I'm from Belo Horizonte, a city in the southeast region of Brazil, in a state that brings a lot of coffee to the world called Minas Gerais.
Absolutely.
And I came to New York City first 12 years ago, and eventually made my way into Austin 10 years ago. And long story short, opened Boteco 2 years after arriving here, and it's been a really interesting journey ever since.
Why did you choose Austin?
It was really intuition, but I knew about Austin because of music and some musicians that I knew that
True.
started here and were successful here. So I just wanted to come down and just see how the city was, and I came, spent 2 days, and loved the city, and decided to move. Plus, New York City was too expensive, too cold.
Absolutely.
New York is one of my favorite places in the world, but
To visit, right?
that's
That's what I say. Like when I go to the winter, man, it's miserable
Right.
cold, dude. And I'm the kind of guy that I do not like cold, dude.
Yeah, well, we're from a tropical
Right,
country,
exactly.
so yeah, it's definitely. I couldn't see myself calling New York City my home,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite places in the world. But I've always said, at the time I was 22, and I said, New York City, it's either for the young and broke, rich and old. If you're not one of them,
So
Probably-
true, man.
it's
I
probably
never
not the
heard
place
that,
for
but
you.
it's
I
so
never heard
true.
that either.
Absolutely.
think about it. If you're young and broke
perfect
and you
sense.
just want to have the best time of your life, you can do it in New York. And if you're rich and old and you just kind of want to chill and eat the best food in the world and just hang out on the Upper East Side, you could also do that.
Right.
But if you're trying to start something and build something of your own, it's a really tough place to do it.
So a little bit before we get to the story around the Boteco and such, how did you ever? You always had this entrepreneur side on you. You always do entrepreneurial things. Or?
yeah. Since I was a kid, I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. I grew up selling food with my mom on the streets of Brazil. Those are my early memories in the kitchen.
Mhm.
After school, I would go to the kitchen and fill up the car with marmitexes.
Yeah.
With little food containers to go, and we would sell those on the street. And my mom is an incredible cook, so I learned everything with her. And so my earliest memories of entrepreneurships are my mom teaching me how to sell food, how to conquer customers, how to make sure that you're selling the most, and making sure that you're creating whatever product that you're selling, you create a unique experience for the customers. And you could see that in Brazilian and everywhere else in the world, but with street vendors, they can, you go to a feira as an example, and they'll grab you, they'll talk to
Yep.
you, they'll sell you everything.
They'll be they're trying to create experience and a customer service. Like, hey, this is a
Yeah,
client right here. It's just like,
exactly.
oh, this is my food and whatever.
Yeah.
Just.
So that's how my childhood
the
was. It
spirit.
was just, that was the spirit of my childhood. It was making sure they created an experience and hustle,
Yeah.
because at the time we were pretty poor, and that was what we had to do to make money.
And when
Um,
you came to the United States, was like, man, I want to create a business there or something, or did you?
No, I wanted to move. So let's backtrack a little bit. I when I was 12 years old, I started DJing professionally, and
At 12.
at 12, yeah. And it wasn't like I was DJing a couple of little parties. I was DJing the biggest clubs in Belo Horizonte in Brazil.
That's badass.
Yeah,
dude.
it was a weird thing that happened, where having a young DJ at a it was called a matinee
Yeah.
at first. So I don't know if you remember. if you're
Italo's
there.
from the same, by the way,
Yeah.
Italo's from the same city as Fernando, so he know a lot of the things. As a matter of fact, I lived in that city too, but I have no recollection.
If we have somebody from Belo Horizonte watching, I'm sure we do. There were two main matinees. There was the Liverpool, and of course I'm going to put a Brazilian accent right now.
Right.
There was Liverpool, and then there was Boate do Pique. And I was a DJ from Boate do Pique. Yeah. And so there was a little beef between Liverpool and Peak. Liverpool DJ was also young. I remember his name was Daniel, and I was the other one from the other club. So there was this little beef between the two young DJs, and to see who could bring the most amount of girls, because it was cool to to just hang out with the DJs.
Yeah, if
So
you're
I-
a DJ, if you bring people and stuff, you
Yeah.
actually had. That's how you grew. That's the entrepreneur right there.
But the promoters were the entrepreneurs, because
Yeah.
they identified that. It's like, oh, that's cool, because the promoters are kind of old. They're like, oh, the DJs are young. They can bring the girls.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it. And so I got caught in this particular moment of Belo Horizonte nightlife that got me to playing major DJ clubs and everything. So I DJ'd for 5 years professionally. When I turned 17, I wanted to move to Barcelona, because I wanted to pursue an electronic music career.
Yeah,
in
what you
Europe.
there is awesome.
Yeah. But at the last minute, I decided to go to New York to try to learn English. I didn't speak a word of English. So I moved to New York with the intention of studying English and everything, and ended up staying. Long story short, we can get into that, but ended up staying, and always had a deep passion for actual rock and roll and all of that. And I decided to buy a guitar and start learning English by writing songs, because I'm not really one of those people who can go to classes and pay.
Right.
I like to do things and actually
Learn your way.
my way.
Yeah.
So I learned English by writing music, and at the same
Wow,
time writing how to
interesting,
sing
dude.
and to play
So
songs.
cool. And I checked out your Instagram. I was like, and then Italo and I were listening to a couple of your tunes on Spotify this morning, dude. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those songs, I wrote all those songs while I was learning English. That was
Wow.
kind of the way I learned. It was just putting things together.
How
and
talented
creating.
is that? It's like, I'm just going to write words in Japanese because I want to learn Japanese. I'm just going to write
Well, it's
Japanese
easier.
songs.
It's easier in English, right? Because we grew up. But
Yeah. It's so cool, man.
Yeah. So that's originally when I moved to Austin. When I wanted to come to Austin, it was because of music. This whole from when I was 12 to when I was 20 when I moved, it was all about creativity. Coming to a place where young people are creative and can develop whatever creativeness, whatever is in their mind. And to me, it was music, it was Boteco, it was food, and so long story short, that's how I ended up in Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. And dude, I want to definitely and we're here in Austin today, and I want to talk about how you grew this business and how amazing it is to have, feature on TV and such. But before we touch to that, guess what time it is?
I'm not sure.
It is the coffee
time.
time.
Let's
Let's
go.
go. All right, Italo, what you got, my man?
I got a couple of things here that are pretty cool. First one, I got something that you don't have. I got a Boteco mug, man. We're rocking the Boteco mug. Thank you so much, man. This is awesome. All right, next thing I do got in here is a coffee from Austin. Actually, it's from San Antonio, but they have a big store here in Austin. We were able to go there, handpick one, and we're about to find out, man. And one of the cool things is I was talking to Fernando, and you're not really big into coffee, huh?
Well,
That's
that might
right,
change today.
dude.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
might
so
change today.
today
Yeah.
better be a very badass coffee.
So, and this is what's gonna be cool because I brought this is called AeroPress. So basically, you can make coffee on the go as long as you have hot water. You're good to go. So this is a cool recipe that I'm gonna make that I made here. I'm gonna let you experiment just a little bit right now of this coffee, and then I'm gonna change the recipe a little bit halfway through, so you can get two different kind of flavored profiles from this coffee. And here's one for you. All right, so give it a good smell. See if you can get some of the smell in there, and you slurp on it. So whenever you're drinking the under, how does it go? There you go.
That's
so you
like
can get
good.
the oxygen in there.
Okay.
Hold on. It's a little bitter. It's a little bitter, but you can definitely see a lot of the notes this way. But you see why. He's going to do something incredible now.
Here's another 100 mLs of water. You're gonna see. So for me, for example, because I like that kind of coffee, I actually would drink it just like I poured it for you, because I can get all the notes. It's more like has more body to it. But this right now, it's gonna be. Where is your cup? Be this. There you go, Neander. And I gotta give a little shout out to Iago, your cook, man.
Yeah.
That guy hooked us up yesterday. Amazing feijoada. If you don't know what that is, Google it. You won't regret. And I gotta bring him some coffee too. He was like, I want to try the coffee as well. All right, so
Let's see.
cheers.
Cheers.
It's almost like a tea, dude. Very, very good.
It's a different beverage now.
Yeah, I prefer the second
That's what I'm saying.
version. Yeah.
Because remember what I told you, like you probably because you're a tea guy, like more
Yeah.
tea than a coffee. This is something that I can see you drinking it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, this is delicious. And if I were to drink coffee on a daily basis, that's probably how I would do it.
Yeah.
No sugar, just
Because coffee's like it's sweet on its own. You can tell like that's good coffee right there.
yeah. And that's the thing, right? When we go to Brazil and see people putting like 3 teaspoons of sugar, like in orange juice,
I know.
it's insane.
It's insane. Like even my parents, dude, we go there and they're like, just pour sugar on everything, dude. It's crazy, you know. And I haven't quit like adding sugar and things in a few years now, and like everything in Brazil tastes so sweet, man.
That's the thing about Brazil, right? We get something like pizza, which is in Italy it's super basic, right? You got flour, tomato, basil, and cheese. Which is supposed. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
This would be the equivalent of that, right? Coffee, water, whatever, all other ingredients. It's very simple. But in Brazil, we have to add catupiry, chicken, olives, onions, hard-boiled eggs,
Even
We put
picanha.
ketchup on
Ca-
it.
and ketchup.
We put ketchup.
and then we use fork and knife to eat it. I mean, and then sushi, we destroy it with cream cheese and Damasco jelly. I'm like, come on.
We're different, man.
It's
We're
different.
We make things interesting per se.
Yeah.
But, dude, I just want. So tell me, if you can score this coffee right here. Actually, before you score it, what you taste on that coffee? What anything that stood out for you? Let's see if you can hit one of those notes that are here. Or what does it remember? Like, what does it remind you of?
No, that's a good question.
As a cook, I think that's gonna be interesting for him.
It's a little smoky, but let me see.
Spill the beans, bro. Spill the beans.
So this has tasting notes of cherry blossom,
Okay.
tamarind, and agave.
See the agave, yeah.
Definitely the agave. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and it's from Ecuador. But what I want to do right now is feed the cook because I want to eat later. So I'm going to give him some coffee. I'm going to let y'all keep talking because I want to hear more of the story, the amazing journey of Fernando here in America and everything else. But very glad that you gave me the chance to give you a second try at coffee, man.
Oh, I loved it, man.
Awesome.
This is great.
Awesome. All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Go, bro. Thank
Talk
you,
to you guys in a
Italo.
few.
Thanks,
All right,
man.
man.
Hey guys, real quick before we continue. So if you want to learn a little bit more how to get started and invest in real estate today, please go to their website, multifamilyempire.com. And if you also want to learn how to do the best cup of coffee in your own home, we're going to teach you a lot of tips and tricks. Go to multifamilyempire.com/forward the real grind. Let's get back to that interview. Bro, let's talk about businesses, man. You know, I was just talking about with you yesterday how much Austin grew. You know, I want to now start, where did the Boteco and the food truck came all about, that idea, that business idea, and how'd you get here? How'd you get started?
I remember watching an interview with the designers of Nike, and actually it was a conversation between John Mayer and the designer. I don't remember his name. And they were talking about how they design clothes that they can't buy it because they don't exist. And John Mayer was talking, I write music that I can't hear. And Boteco kind of came the same way. I wanted to eat Brazilian food in Austin, and I couldn't. There was no place in Austin where I would go and get feijoada, real authentic Brazilian street food, and those places just didn't exist. So I just decided to create my own because there wasn't that wasn't available. And it was a city that was growing so much, and not only for selfish purposes because I wanted to experience that myself, but there was a huge business opportunity to create something like that. That is, pretty popular. Brazilian food in America is mostly represented by the steakhouses.
Yeah, the churrascarias and
Yeah.
such, right?
But there's so much more to it. And
Absolutely.
there wasn't anything like that available in Austin. So I identified that opportunity and decided to take it a shot. The name was inspired on the festival in Belo Horizonte called Comida de Boteco, which I'm sure you all know. And
so describe the word boteco. What does it mean in English? How would it describe a boteco?
Boteco is the equivalent of a izakaya in Japan, or a brasserie in France, or a pub, right, in England. It would be to a place where you go after work for happy hour, drinks, food, sort of casual food, and kind of come to hang out with your friends, to sit down and chat and have a couple of bites and have a couple of beers. It's a very laid back place where you can have good food, and usually you have a direct relationship with the owner if it's an authentic original Boteco. It's usually named after the owner, right? Boteco do Fernando or something.
Yeah.
But because I have the only Boteco in Austin, I can just call it Boteco.
Because people know it's yours.
Yeah, exactly. But Boteco would be the equivalent of a pub, of an izakaya. It's where you go for drinks and street food.
Legit, man, legit. And how now, and the decision, that you face the problem, which that's a lot of business when you there is a problem, let's find a solution. I want to do my own Brazilian food and ways. What was the decision between now a restaurant or in a food truck?
At the time,
Yes.
back in the time, it was mostly because I wanted to test an idea out to see if it would work. To open a restaurant, the investment is way bigger.
Very.
And again, it's a market that I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not.
Right.
It could have worked, but
Which location, logistics,
Right.
all of this
Yeah.
stuff, right? And probably because, I don't know, but at the time, probably you didn't have the track record, I guess, for a or a lender or a bank for you to
Absolutely.
open a restaurant, right?
Absolutely.
Now
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they will love to, do business with you because you do have a proven concept and a track record, right? But at the time, so how was the trailer came about? How'd you find the thing? And
well, Austin has this culture of food trucks, right? in
which is
general.
awesome.
Yeah. And it was mostly that. I just when you look at the amount of talented people that are in Austin, a lot of the young chefs, the people that have that dream about having their own place, they all started with food trucks because it's an easy way to start your project, again, without all the huge investments that you would have to have for brick and mortar. So it was mostly that. Wanted to try it out, see how it would go. So
what was the first spot and what was the first couple weeks by, man? You put this menu together.
first part,
how was
yeah,
your
we created a business
beginning?
plan, and found the truck on Craigslist. Yeah, it was a FedEx truck.
Really?
Yeah. Bought the truck. Paid $3,000 for the truck. Can you believe it? $3,000.
That's awesome.
I drove it to a friend of mine's house, and we just parked there for a while, and I was working on it. Then I found a guy who professionally builds food trucks, and brought the truck there. I would go every single day because I designed the whole thing myself, so I would go there to get it together and everything. And after a couple of months, it was ready. We painted it, and then we got invited to go to. It was right before South by Southwest, and we got invited to go, and that's one of those like lucky moments. I'm not sure exactly how it got to them, but before we started, we had an Indiegogo campaign, and so if you donated $100, you would get a shirt, or you would get a mug, or a bunch of things. And
How cool, Dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
it was a great way to not only get money to start the
awareness.
business, but also a great marketing campaign,
Yeah.
which somehow ended up in the hands of one of the directors of the main food court for South by Southwest. So they invited us to go to the food
So
truck.
that, I mean, I have to correct. It was no luck, bro.
Yeah, well,
I don't believe in
appreciate
such
it.
a thing.
I
I really
agree.
don't, because like if you didn't take action by
Yeah.
just starting, you will only find out.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, of course. So it got in the hands of the director, and she invited us to go to the main South by Southwest food court lot,
Wow.
which was a lot of work.
Which it brings thousands. You don't know Southwest with Southwest. It's huge here
Oh,
in
yeah.
Austin. It's big.
So I called my mom, because my mom is a professional cook. I was just starting, and bought her a ticket, and she flew here. And then
Really?
yeah, and we worked oh man, that was like the most intense up until today.
Right?
That weekend was the most intense weekend.
How many people do you think you guys served that weekend?
Oh, I can't. Look, I can say this. We paid off the loans and everything in 2 weeks.
Wow.
The business
Oh
has
my
been
goodness.
paid off ever since the first 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your mom's name?
Soraya.
Soraya, congratulations.
Yeah, no, she's incredible.
That's awesome.
She's one of those people that you give her a task and you don't have to worry about it. She gets it done. Yeah,
awesome.
I owe everything that I know about cooking and all of that to her. All the awards, all the television shows, I learned everything from her. And not only technique, but meaning, what it means to cook the food that we
Dude,
represent.
I got goosebumps. That's very powerful,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Because like, when you just put when you do with excellence, right? Things, no matter what you do, but when you put, you look like a kind of guy that when you put your name on it, you mean business, right? You do
Yeah.
it for real, which that's a good thing, man. And that transparents a lot. And how did you get to getting, like, I'm sure that was like a big kickstart for you guys, man. You know what I mean? Getting awareness. How did it get to attention now to the TV show, dude? How
Yeah.
did you get at that?
That was a long process, man. But here's how it happened. So after South by, we moved to a normal location, and actually started from the beginning. I mean, we were popular, but those are tourists. They left.
They leave, right?
Yeah. So then we had to create a name for ourselves in Austin. We started with the Brazilian community, right? They knew about a new Boteco, and that was huge for them here because there wasn't anything available.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, at first we only had Brazilian customers, and a couple Americans who probably went to Brazil loved it, and then were obsessed with the culture, which happens a lot, I'm sure,
Right.
you know. So we had those types of customers, and then eventually the word started getting out. But then there's a thing called Yelp, which used to be super popular, right? And not anymore, right? Google kind of took over.
Yeah. I mean, there are true people that really just enjoy Yelp, but I think you're right. Google.
I thought
took
it
over.
was Yelp. It's still powered by Apple. If you look at Apple Maps, I think it's powered by Apple.
That's true. Yeah, you see the
But
review.
but I think Google definitely is dominant from
Right.
all those search engines, I guess, especially for businesses and restaurant industry.
Here's what happened with Yelp. So before Instagram was a thing where people would review and post foods
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Instagram, those same people used to do that on Yelp. And they would call themselves elite Yelpers and would make their full-time job of eating and critiquing food in restaurants and all that. So I identified that niche, and and I focused a lot on Yelp because I knew that was going to bring a lot of business. So what we did was pretty much create an experience, a customer experience, where we would, no matter what, we would make sure that you would have a 5-star experience without asking for a review, but genuinely creating such a unique and powerful experience that you would be inclined to write a review. And we got thousands of reviews, 5-star reviews, and we kind of broke the algorithm of Yelp. And that's when we started getting as the number one place in the city. It started as the number one place in the city. So you would get to Austin, you would write food,
Yeah.
and the number one place would be a Brazilian food truck with 5 stars and like hundreds of reviews. So we would get people from all over the world that would come to Austin and say, I don't know why I'm here, but everybody's saying that I should be here. So here I
My
am.
phone just bought me here.
I thought Texas was known for barbecue and tacos, but apparently it's Brazilian food.
That's awesome.
But it really was about the experience and that direct relationship that they were having with a small business owner who was put in their life. I always say this, right? When you go to London, Tokyo, all these big cities, you don't want to go to the Michelin star places. You don't want to go to the places that have 3 Michelin stars. You want to go to the place that's trying to get their first Michelin star.
Because they're gonna
Try their hardest. They're gonna want to be the ones that are gonna create memorable experiences for you.
Dude, it's funny you say that because my first property that we bought when we were raising money with their investors, the guy said, I mean, this was their first one, and we didn't have a track record or anything, right? And we were talking about we were raising $6 million, and this guy told me, he's like, dude, I'm investing with you because I love people that are starting out. They pay more attention. They work their hardest, and they make sure the investors get, returns. And it's like, so I love what you guys are doing, and let's go. And that, when he told me this shit, it was like, man, this is real. Because when we try to grow a business, and that's a mistake that a lot of people sometimes fall into. They get comfortable later, right? They get too big, and it's like, I just don't care anymore. I oversee that. But in the beginning, you're right, like 100%.
Yep.
When you put their heart and soul in there, how can you keep that pace?
Exactly. And that really what it was. Was the food incredible? Yeah, the food was great. But it wasn't the best food in town. It wasn't. We were serving Brazilian street food. There are places like Uchiko, and amazing restaurants in Austin that are doing highly technical, difficult things. That wasn't what we were doing. We were creating a unique experience where you would come here and understand that unspoken thing between the hustle of a small business owner and the representation of a culture, which is a very friendly and warm culture that we represent. So that kind of got us to the top of all the lists on Yelp and brought a lot of attention to everybody. And then eventually with time and really hard work, because as you can imagine, it's really hard to please everybody. And I actually had nightmares. I had nightmares about the sound of reviews. I kind of have PSD. I don't anymore.
Would that bother you for people that had? Because I'm sure there'll be.
We hardly ever got bad reviews.
Really?
It was 95% 5 stars.
But the one that came, did it bother you a bunch?
Yeah.
It does, right?
It does, yeah. It would destroy my day. It was that level of perfection that I really don't have it anymore. I don't even look at the reviews anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. But back in the day, I had nightmares about waking up, and that was the first thing I would do. I'd wake up like, oh, do we have any reviews? That was horrible. Definitely not healthy. But I was just, that was my life. I was completely obsessed with getting to the top.
Sure. So he found you the TV show.
So because of that, we started getting attention from food bloggers and other things. And one day we got a knock at the door from the manager of Matthew McConaughey, and he was kind of gathering around Brazilian food in town to see which one would be the best to cook for their private party. And they had our food. They called us the next day, and then we started cooking for their events at their place. So we would drive the truck to their house, and because Camila is also from Belo Horizonte.
Right.
So we would throw parties and cook for all of them, and one of the most frightening days of my life.
Oh, man,
I
you
can only
gotta
imagine.
represent.
I woke up sick that day. It was just so anxious about it that we fed 600 dishes.
Was your mom still helping you then? Or
No, that was
you were by yourself. You were a big boy now. You grew up.
Big boy, yeah. And we had to make 600 acarajés by hand. Yeah, it's hard to make acarajé. And so many other dishes. But it was extremely successful. They loved it. And then Guy Fieri is friends with Matthew McConaughey. And Guy Fieri was the one. Matthew McConaughey was the one who told Guy Fieri about us. So whenever they were doing Diners, Drives, and Dives in Texas again, they invited us to be part of the show. It was the only food truck to be in that show. It's usually brick and mortar places.
Mm-hmm.
And they came down here and we shot the episode. And the video went viral in Brazil. It's got millions of views, and
Wow, dude.
it changed our business forever. So after that episode, the business has never been the same.
Really?
Yeah, we no longer have to.
So a lot of
be worried
miles
about Yelp.
points, right? So getting picked by Southwest to do that, and I'm sure that was a hit, and then you growing, and I'm sure that was a great milestone for you guys, man, going on the TV, national TV and international.
Yeah,
And
it was.
The show is international. It's not
It
just
is.
U.S. because they do translate to a lot of other.
You know what the best thing about this is?
What?
You can watch me in Portuguese being dubbed by somebody else.
What? That's how you
So-
know you made it in
So
life.
you're gonna watch me going like, "Meu nome é Fernando, eu sou da Louisiana." Like,
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah, I know. You can. I actually haven't seen it, but there is that episode.
So they
And
didn't
it's-
ask you to dub yourself. They
No.
got somebody else.
There's somebody else from like Airbridge Richards, whatever that one is.
Versão brasileira.
Yeah, it was
Herbert
like,
Richards.
meu nome é Fernando, eu sou de Belo Horizonte. And so there is that
That's
available
amazing.
to watch somewhere.
Holy shit.
But yeah, it's been an incredible experience. But I it's very important to say, because I'm talking about all the big people, all the things that happen. But the most important thing, and I have awareness of that. If it wasn't for every single one of the normal, regular customers that would come and support, we would
Absolutely.
be nowhere. So of course we're talking about the big names, Matthew McConaughey, Guy Fieri, but I'm truly thankful for everybody who came in, wrote reviews, gave our business.
The
and
loyal
helped.
customers,
Loyal
right? Because I'm
customers.
sure there's people that probably still a customer from you from the beginning, right?
Oh yeah.
They come in, and if I would live in Austin, dude, now I'm just tempted to drive the 3 hours, come here
Oh yeah.
for.
I mean, it's kind of
Because
weird.
the
but
food yesterday was incredible, man.
Thank you.
Incredible. He has the feijoada, I had the picanha, and we shared, and then we had a pastel. And I was like, God dang it,
Oh, the
dude.
yuca, the mandioca, yeah.
And I was like, dude,
soft, right? That mandioca is so soft.
how can we do to convince you to open one in Dallas, dude?
Well, we can talk about it for sure. There's a market. But yeah, we have customers that have been coming here since. I mean, they were kids and all they're adults. Like it's getting to that point where the business is old enough
Yeah.
where you have that relationship. We're like, oh, I remember you as a kid, and now you're that's happening that now. It's 8 years. I mean, as a small business owner, it's like 8 years is a long time.
It's a long time.
It's kind of went like that.
And Fernando, what, on the real estate, I asked you that question yesterday, but what is, because our show, we attract a lot of investors, people that own the real estate, and you don't want a piece of real estate, but you own the business on wheels. So talk about your real estate portion of this business, like that compares the restaurant versus having a mobile and stuff like that.
So part of the reason why the food truck works so much is because the overhead is so low.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the rent and the amount of employees that we need. So the real estate scene in Austin is right now, as you can imagine, it's extremely competitive.
Oh my God, it's
There's-
crazy.
We used to pay $400 a month in rent when we first started.
To park.
To park,
Yeah.
with electricity and water and all included, $400. And that was about 8 years ago. Now we pay $3,000 a month.
Wow.
So
It's a big difference.
big
dude.
difference, big difference. But again, we used to be parked on 6th Street, which is the main street in Austin.
Right.
If you've ever been to Austin, 6th Street is the main street. If you've never been, Austin has this like tourist district where all the
Yeah.
bars and restaurants are, and 6th Street is the main one. And we somehow were there for 6 years.
Wow.
But speaking of real estate, I mean, how it almost doesn't make sense that such a small business like that would be allowed to park on the main street and pay $400 a month. And it used to be the case, but then, and I was aware that eventually that would come to an end, as it did, because of the amount of investment that has been brought to Austin. So we kept getting kicked out from place to place, And then eventually we got invited to come to this park, which again, there's a 5-year waiting list to get here.
5 years,
5 years.
to park here.
Yeah, and you can't really you got to be invited.
Right.
So
I'm sure they have kind of a standards, right? There had to
Yeah.
be some kind of, quality or, reputation and such. So for future, what is the future for Boteco?
I would love to open the first cachaçaria in the U.S. And have caipirinhas made with different fruits, hopefully fruits from local farms and all of that. I used to have the desire of actually opening a Brazilian restaurant that would serve Brazilian dishes such as muqueca and frango com quiabo and all of that. But I had enough experience. I have enough experience with this market to understand that there's just not enough demand in a place like Austin. If you're in a place like Boston or Miami or New York, where there are a lot of Brazilians and people actually want to eat that, then I'm sure. But
I think every part of business overall, when you have to explain a lot, right? Which muqueca, they don't know, never heard of it.
No.
If you maybe change the name for fish stew shop or
Right.
something, they won't understand. But sometimes we have those traditional names that you have to educate a lot of people. It might take a while. My wife, she was living in Boston before we got married, got together. So I've been to Boston multiple times. They do have a moqueca place, but demographic is one of the biggest Brazilian population in the U.S. It's in Boston. That place is packed all the time. But I could see your point. You open a place like this, you have to also only rely on the demand of Brazilians. I don't think it's a good strategy.
It wouldn't be a profitable strategy at all.
Right.
So, I really believe that the future of Boteco would be somewhere more towards caipirinhas and some sort of Brazilian smokehouse, not a Brazilian steakhouse, not an all-you-can-eat, but doing feijoadas where we smoke all the meats, where everything is smoked in-house and it's properly served with, sort of like a Texas smoked beef rib inside. Not with sugar rubs. I'm not mixing the flavors. What I'm saying is properly smoked feijoadas,
Awesome.
which that's what it's supposed to be, right?
Absolutely.
Feijoada is about smoked meats, beans, and the connection of all those things together. So it would probably be more related to that butchery, steaks, and smoking meats with cachaças and caipirinhas. That's probably how I envision Boteco in the long run. But I'm always going to keep the food truck too.
That's your baby.
It's getting old, but it is my baby, man.
That's awesome. And how can people know about you, or the location and Instagram or social media or something?
We're always here. We don't move. We're always at 1720 Barton Springs Road here in Austin. But if you follow us on Boteco ATX on Instagram, you can see all the updates, the events, the samba, the haunted sambas that we have here and all of that. Just follow us on social media.
And if you come in here and you're watching the show, consider your friends with the realest, God dang it.
Neander needs more coffee.
Yeah,
Maybe
I know,
he
I
had
need
too
more
much
coffee,
already.
Or I had too much. And I'm just confused. It's like when I take Adderall, dude. I can't even speak. So if you tell your friends from the Real Grind Show, come check it out. This amazing, amazing place, dude. It's awesome. It's one of my favorites so far, and I can't wait to come back more often.
Absolutely.
But dude, this is the part that we're gonna do, the spilling the beans. People want to know a little bit more. You, man, spilling the beans with Fernando. Let's go. Southwest by Southwest or Carnival?
Carnival. Well, it depends, actually.
What?
I don't like Carnival that much. I was just in Carnival in Brazil and I hated it. Old school Carnival, yes. Carnival now, it's different. But the old school Carnival, like Dança da Mãozinha, Trio Elétrico, Bahia.
All right, okay.
I like that. I
Cool.
like that. But the bloquinhos, I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan of bloquinhos.
Okay. A food truck in Dallas or a restaurant in Austin?
Restaurant in Austin. Yeah.
All right. Fender or Yamaha?
Fender.
All right. We know, dude. Porsche or Tesla?
I have a Porsche.
I know.
Yeah, Porsche.
Poker or blackjack?
Not poker. All day.
100%.
I want to control. I don't like gambling. I like poker. There you go.
Solomon or A-Lock?
Solomon. Oh, good. Good questions.
Stocks or real estate investing?
Real estate investment.
Let's go, man. And this was Completed the Beans with Fernando. Awesome, dude.
He meant spilling the beans, but we just completed the spilling the beans.
Bro, thank you so much for participating on our show. I'm very, very inspired by your story.
Absolutely.
And I hope we can inspire a lot of other people, man. Have you ever done a talk show that you share? I'm sure you have like a lot of interviews, but like, on the podcast and stuff. Or have you?
I've done a couple, but I've never done a talk or in front of an audience about that. Actually, I have. There's this program that brings students from Austria to Austin, and it's about entrepreneurship, and they usually come here and they like to hear.
Dude, you have to share more, man. This is so inspiring, and I think that what my biggest key takeaway from today is like perseverance, and also when you do things, when you give it all in.
Yeah.
Right. And that comes with great results.
Yeah, and that's it comes. I mean, it comes down to every single thing we do on Earth. Like this coffee is great. It's greatness, and no matter what you do, just try to be great at what you do and put your heart and soul into it, and you'll be surprised of what you can achieve. I never thought that when I first opened the truck that I would be able to talk about being the highest rated food truck in the country or going to Food Network in Guy Fieri, and you don't see it happening. You just give all of yourself. Don't really worry too much about it, and life.
But I want to say it was no luck, bro.
I agree with you. I don't believe in luck. I think it's hard work, it's intuition, it's perseverance, and all of those things together.
All you gotta do is try.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have a lot of failures that we
yeah.
learn from it, the things that didn't work. But
And
if you keep trying, dude, one time.
And don't get me wrong, there were many nights where I would go back from the food truck home and it wasn't a good night and we didn't sell it much, and I would go like, did I do the right thing? Is this right? Because I used to work at Apple, and before I worked at the Boteco, and I was like, did I do the right thing from leaving Apple to work at a food truck? And the answer is yes, but it doesn't happen overnight. And if it did, there's something wrong. It has to take a while. It has to be hard. But life is fair to those who don't give up and have perseverance and keep going.
And I have a last question for you, brother. If you could look back and talk to yourself back in the day, man, look into this camera here, what would you have to say?
Don't worry about the Yelp reviews. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Don't worry about them. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm joking, but what I would say is, follow your intuition. There's a moment in your 20s, 25s, or your late 20s where you're in that mid-spring, full of inspiration, full of energy, full of thrive, and that goes away. And you have to enjoy that moment and get your life started at that point. You can't really do that in your late 30s. You really can't. It's that young. It happens with all types of things, even in poker and all those things. Young players, young entrepreneurs, they have that moment. Even musicians do. You look at Neil Young when he was 24, writing all those amazing songs, and after a while, it doesn't come anymore. Same thing with Bob Dylan. It doesn't come anymore as easily because you're in that mid-spring, full of creativity time. So don't let that moment of your life be wasted. Use all that moment, all of that gasoline to fly as high as you can, and then once you get to somewhere at the top, then you can cruise kind of easier. So use that moment and go as high as you can before you can slow the windows down and just cruise at low speed.
Sweet, man. Super good.
Awesome.
I'm super inspired by your story, brother.
Thank you,
I
man.
appreciate it, man.
Thanks
Thank you
for having
so
me,
much,
guys. This is
dude.
great.
Yeah. And this is The Real Grind. Amazing story, dude. And let's go.
And as always, thank you so much for watching The Real Grind. If you want to watch the full episodes, go to YouTube or Facebook. If you want to listen to our episodes, go to Spotify, Apple Music, or your favorite podcast platform. Remember, this is amazing coffee from Austin. So if you're in Texas, go grab a bag of their coffee. If you are in Austin, let me steal this from you real quick. Come check these guys out. Boteco is the place to be. Once we wrap it up, I'm about to get some amazing food, so make sure you check them out. Check their Instagram page, just like you're checking out, like us out. Give it a like, give it a follow, support us. We'll be right back with more The Real Grind Tour. Amazing stuff. Remember, this is The Real Grind.
Waking up to success, now we're getting it started. This is the real grind. Everything you've been wanting, building an empire, no question. Talking about real estate, investing, making the millions, no stopping. While we sip on gourmet coffee, the real grind. This is the real grind. Let's go.